Hey guys, welcome to my stream, welcome to my channel, welcome to the beginning of a new series working on this guy right here. That's Dominic's 1970 Charger from the movie Fast and Furious 1. So let's get that intro going and we'll get started, shall we? Well guys, again, thanks for showing up and thanks for coming out. We're starting a new build series, working on Dominic's 1970 Charger. That's what I said. I believe this is a 1/24th scale model kit. It's made by Revell. Got the instructions right here. I have already opened the box. Well, we'll go through and we'll take a look at the sprues and stuff like that, and we'll get started on it. All right. It's early morning right now, and so airplanes are taking off and they're going to be interrupting me a little bit. It's just the way it is. So one thing I have done, I've had this kit in my stash for a little while. I did already open it up, like I said, and I've kind of took a look at it. I have already painted the body black. As you can see, it's I have gloss black, but I haven't polished it up or anything like that, so it's just kind of black right now. And I don't quite have, I think I only did one coat of black on it, so I've got to get a little bit underneath as the body curves down. I didn't quite get it all that great, especially on this side. I can see maybe the camera can't pick it up that great, but I can't, and I'm not very happy with it. The camera does kind of show that it's kind of a semi-gloss there, and then it comes up and it's kind of a gloss. And you can see some imperfections in the plastic mold showing through the paint. We'll have to deal with all that later. And there's the hood. And so yeah, I've got that. It is molded in white, which is kind of nice. Let's see. So we got some chrome parts here. As you can see, some tires laying on my desk here. Yeah, thanks airplane. It seemed particularly loud today for some reason. So, for you guys who have seen the movie, you already know how iconic this car was at the end of the movie, and how Dominic was, it's like the only car that Dominic said, oh, I'm actually scared to drive. You know what? I actually have a clip that I'm going to add right about here. It shows a little bit of what we're actually looking at, because the box art doesn't really do it justice. So let me just load that and I'll show you.
Wow.
Yeah, my dad built her. 900 horses of Detroit muscle. It's a beast. Know what she ran in Palmdale?
No, what did she run?
9 seconds flat. My dad was driving it. So much torque, the chassis twisted coming off the line. Barely kept her on the track.
So what's your best time?
I've never driven her.
Why not?
Scares the shit out of me. I used to drag here back in high school. That railroad crossing up there is exactly a quarter mile away from here. On green, I'm going for it.
All right, so looking at that, pretty nice looking car. That's what I'm going to try and go for with my build. Watching that race scene, you guys know that when I am doing a build with where I'm trying to duplicate a vehicle or something like that in a movie, such as Tom Cruise's F-14 from Top Gun, the Fury tank, those kinds of things. I go through that movie, I pause it, I take screenshots, I do kinds of stuff like that. And I look at still pictures online, all kinds of things, and I try and go through to really get the details to see just exactly what that thing was really represented in the movie and try and duplicate it as best as I can anyway. And of course, in doing so, when you do that kind of thing, you tend to run into the flaws of Hollywood magic, and you discover little things that you didn't notice when you just watch the movie through and you're not really paying attention, and you're just enjoying it, your suspension of disbelief and stuff like that. And yeah, things like the rear tires on that car when they're racing and that light turns green and he takes off, spinning the tires and lifting those front wheels off the ground. I'm sorry, that don't happen in real life. No car that spins the tires is lifting the wheels off the ground on the front. Just don't happen. Sorry. And anyway, and especially not tires as thin as the ones they have on that car. So, in knowing that, we have our front tires here. And they're kind of fat, they're like regular street tires. Definitely not drag racing street tire front tires. Those things are really thin. These are kind of average, and that's fine. And here are the rear tires, definitely fatter. Okay, rear tires are fatter, but these are still not what would really be on a car of that caliber. So I dug through my spare kits and stuff like that, and I grabbed these tires. Now there is a drag racing slick. Okay, now that's what you really would see. This would be kind of a tubbed car. This tire is almost exact same diameter. It's a little tiny bit taller, but it's definitely a wider tire, and that is what I'm going to put on this car. Okay, this would do it justice. This is going to be a nice meaty looking tire sticking under there. That's going to look good sitting under there, under the back end of this car. So a pair of those tires, definitely nicer, better looking, looks like an actual drag racing car. Okay, a lot better than this thing's normal kind of tire sitting under there. That's just nothing. That doesn't do justice at all. Anyway, so that is custom work number one I'm doing, especially because they've designed the kit to fit those little tires under there. But just take a quick look at our chassis. Again, all molded in white. This is the first thing I've seen in a very, very long time. Normally they have their little copyright thing done. It's molded in the plastic, but what they've done is they've just, it's just, I don't know what they call it, silkscreen or whatever, onto the plastic under an otherwise flat bar. They have molding on here, if I can read that. Copyright 2016, Revell. All rights reserved, made in China. China, China, China. Anyway, so there's our chassis, and this is where the tires would go, and they've got this cleared out pretty good here to fit that, right? But I stick this one under there, suddenly we're sticking out too far, I'm pretty sure. I'll just change the camera and you can see what my challenges are going to be like in doing this. So here's our body. This is going to have to like slide in here, something like this. Maybe we go this way. Yeah, that's better. I'm going to spread that apart to fit. And spread this. And that's roughly where this is going to lay down in there. Something like that. Roughly, something like that. Okay. Anyway, assuming this is exactly where it's going to be, I'll put my finger in here, just give it some resistance. Okay, and this would be the, let's put our front tires away. This would be the normal tire, and that would fit in just perfect, and you got lots of room there, right? So we'll do a little test fit of our fatter tire. It doesn't quite fit. It definitely doesn't tuck under the fender. It doesn't tuck under, but we need it to. So I'm going to be getting my Dremel out, and I'll be cutting a hole. I'll be turning this into a big hole to fit that. And I'll go right up against the frame rail, right in there with the Dremel, so I can really tuck that in there. I think I'm going to have to actually cut the frame for that to fit. Just looking at the actual width, if I want it to tuck under the fender, then I am going to be removing that frame. Yep, definitely. Frame's going to go. And it looks like we've got, these are probably mounting points for the rear axle. And of course I'll be cutting this out, so my mounting points are going to disappear. Which means I might have to add something. I might have to add something to actually be able to mount the rear axle, because we've got points here and here and here and here. I think probably going to be, I'm going to assume they didn't do it right and they probably put leaf springs on this. Anyway, let me, just out of curiosity. No, I said I'd go through the sprues, and then I start talking about all the customization I'm doing. Typical car build, you got to start with the engine. That's normal. What I did find funny going through the instructions on this, almost everything is painted black. Either gloss black or flat black or semi-gloss black. It's all just black, 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 black. Gloss black, semi-gloss, flat black, semi-gloss. Roll cage is steel. Body is gloss black. That thing is gloss black. Flat black, semi-gloss, gunmetal, gloss black, flat black, semi-gloss, gloss, semi-gloss, everything, semi-gloss black, gunmetal on our brake discs, and yeah. So this is our front suspension. Rear suspension was right. They used leaf springs. No real drag racing car with that kind of engine in it is going to be using leaf springs for your suspension. They're going to be using 4-link or a ladder bar. Not leaf springs. Like, seriously, guys. They want to paint our drive shaft rust color. Like, who's going to have a rusty drive shaft? Yeah, rusty drive shaft. That I had to laugh at. And there's our front rims and our rear rims. Oh, we've got semi-gloss white for our water reservoir. We want rust in the grill. I'll talk about the grill in a bit. One thing I'm doing. Everything else. So anyway, yeah. And that's it. And of course the car's black. Yeah, so definitely these are the mounts for our leaf springs that are supposed to go across here. That is not going to work at all. Not at all, because I've got to cut this away and fit that tire in there, and I can't have leaf springs going over the tire. That just doesn't work. So I'm going to have to figure that out later on. I might have to add a piece of styrene or something in there to add, to do something with that, to maybe knock it into this area a little bit closer, so that it'll be going, maybe the leaf springs are just moved from here instead of here, they're inward a little bit, kind of thing. So maybe add a little block of styrene here and here, to give them new mounting points or something. I don't know. Alternatively, I could just cut this whole bar right out and relocate it in here. Anyway, that's a problem for future me. Let's pull that out. Let's go through all the sprues, okay? Obviously we have our undercarriage, and this is our interior, okay? Interior bucket. We have a second chrome sprue with our grill, wiper blades, gas cap, shifter, rearview mirror, outside rear view mirror. We got our alternator here. That's kind of cool. Did our alternator in chrome with the bracket mounted on it. That's pretty neat. Okay. There's our drive shaft and brakes, our rear diff, and I guess those are rear brakes. Those are front brakes, or front discs. I don't know. Anyway. And here's our engine parts, our block and their heads, and valve covers. At least it's a Hemi. That's good. Be interesting to know whether this is a... I'm not sure. Is it only the 426 that's a Hemi? I don't think you can get the 460 in a Hemi. Is it a 460? Whatever. I don't know what the bigger engine that Dodge makes is. I'm not a Dodge fanatic. Here's our roll cage and fire extinguisher. Shocks. That's our fan belts for the engine. These, I don't know. Headers that are supposed to be painted steel. Yep. Okay. Here's our front clip for suspension. Rear differential. We have interior door panels. Now I've gone through and I've looked at what that car's actually was, the model of this car, and clearly the real car, Dominic's car, did not have a full interior. So his dashboard was just sheet aluminum with a couple of gauges, and no center console, that's for sure. And the doors are just sheet aluminum, just bare minimum. Not a full interior like that. That's okay though. We've got our firewall, radiator, the front radiator mount, and the battery. Here's our leaf springs. Yeehaw, our fun little leaf springs. And we have our seats. Dominic's car, I believe, had Recaro seats. These look like just factory Dodge Charger seats. And that's fine. Steering wheel, pedals. Oh, that's interesting. It's a manual transmission. It actually looks like... This is weird. There's our accelerator, our brake, and our clutch, and then this. What the heck is that? Why is there 4 pedals? 4 pedals. Oh, you know what? I'm looking at it upside down. Accelerator, brake, clutch, and that would be our emergency brake pedal. That's interesting. I didn't know Dodge did emergency e-brake pedals in these cars. Huh. Okay. Well, I guess I just learned something. And we have our clear parts, our windshield, our rear window, little quarter glass windows, and a couple of other little things that I'm not sure what they are. And there's our little light lenses. I'm not sure what these two are. These no, it can't be tail light lenses, because we have tail light lenses in this bag, red ones. So this one, I'm not sure what that is. I guess we'll figure it out as we go, right? That's kind of how we do it. So, unfortunately, guys, I need to paint all of this with a primer. I need to prime all of this, and that means it's all going to be black. And so this is the only time you guys are going to really see all the detail, because, well, it's all going to be black. Sorry. Except for the engine stuff. I mean, I'm going to primer it all black, but then it's all going to be aluminum. The book would have you paint the engine parts different colors. Basically, you've pulled the engine out of your old 69 Charger, or sitting this one's 70. You pulled your engine out of your old 1970 Dodge Charger, and you've decided to build it up and put a blower on it. So your engine block would be made out of cast iron, of course. That's what you did in the 70s. And this engine is not a cast iron block, though. This engine's aluminum, because we've put a modern engine in it. We've put a new engine that's built for a blower to race this thing. And those engines are aluminum. So it's going to be painted aluminum, not black as the book would have you. So yeah. So what primer am I using? I'm using Mr. Surfacer 1500 Black. That's the primer I'm going to be using on this little guy. And yeah. So unfortunately, you're not going to see all the detail anymore after this, because it kind of gets, the camera just can't pick it up. So I'll just do it, everything straight on the sprue, because it's just primer. If there's a couple of spots that it doesn't quite catch, that's all right. It's just the way it is. I do not want to get paint on my fingers today. So move the sprue around. Okay, some parts we have to do both sides of the sprue and some we don't. This and some parts you gotta get all the angles. But anyway, as you can see, there's the detail that is now you can't see anymore because it's black. So yeah, apologize for that, but that's just the nature of the beast here. I will prime this first and cut it up later. The undercarriage basically is going to be black anyway, so I don't think I'll even have to paint this beyond the black primer, other than touching up where I basically get rid of all of that spot with where I'm going to be cutting it out for the tubs to fit those big fat tires. This one I kind of only have to do the inside. This is not going to be seen. It might be seen through here and in the back, but that's it. For the most part, this won't be seen much. I love that on the rear deck of the interior they had the detail for what would be your rear speakers in the car. That's kind of funny. Detail for rear speakers. You know what I'm going to do? Because I have to keep grabbing onto the sprue to move it around, I'm going to put on a glove. I keep a pair of these nitrile gloves near me, so just for painting. As you can see, I've already got overspray on them. From a different project, I keep them in here, so this will let me touch the sprue and move it around as much as I like. And maybe even repaint my gloves black. There we go. There's another one done. What else? These guys. Again, that's it. So just everything's getting painted black, and that's it. Next sprue. These are seats. Seats and steering wheels. go. Okay, next. Next is our bulkheads and our rad cover, radiator itself, these springs. Now, if I considered myself a fabricator, which I do not, I would attempt to make my own 4-link suspension. But I do not have that skill set for doing that kind of stuff. I kind of wish I did, because that would be really cool. And I see guys, you know, other guys building this kind of stuff online and doing these custom things like the suspension and stuff like that, and they make their own suspension. That would be really cool if I could do that, but I can't. I don't have that skill. So sometimes it's good to know your own limitations. And I definitely know when I come across something I know I cannot do, you just have to accept it, you know, that's the way it is. One more sprue left. I would say, okay, so it's cool that everything is white, not because I have to paint the whole thing, but if I was building, so let's say, I don't know, let's say I wanted to build the General Lee from the Dukes of Hazzard, okay? And I did not want to use the kit that they make for the General Lee. Let's say this was the only one. Let's say you go to the hobby store and they have Dominic's charger, but they don't have the General Lee. You want to build the General Lee. This would be a reasonable facsimile. It's the same thing. It's 1970 Dodge Charger. I think the General Lee is a 69, and I think really visually there's not much difference. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised to find out that Revell probably uses the exact same molds for the two kits. Very well could be. Anyway, so let's get started here. We'll let the rest of that dry. We've got our engine. We've got to start with the engine, right? That's what we do. So let's get to page 1 here of our build, and let's get started here. Okay, change the camera, and you can watch me do this. Bingo. I will change my glasses, even though it's just an engine and the parts are big, I still like to be able to see in better detail. We've got our engine block. Obviously, the two halves of this have to go together. Okay, and then we're going to need our oil pan. We're going to need our valve covers. I'm actually surprised they didn't give me chrome valve covers. That's a very common thing in these kits, these engine kits. I'll need my front water pump also. Cylinder head number 1, number 2, valve cover 1, valve cover 2. Okay, we'll start with these. Let's get our imperfections cleaned up here. They give me a chrome intake to go with the blower, but they don't give me chrome valve covers. That's so, well, I mean, it's unusual. Usually it's kind of a given to get chrome valve covers. One thing I've discovered that you can do online, you guys saw in my, when I built the AC Cobra, or the 427 Cobra, whatever you want to call it. When I built that kit, I was not happy with the Boss 429 engine that came in the kit. And so I bought a resin kit off of eBay. And much better detail. These guys who produce these resin engines, like the detail that they're able to do with resin is very, very impressive. I guess it's much more than what they can do with the plastic molding. Plastic molds, of course, they do all right. You get the idea, definitely. But if you're going for ultra realism, you definitely need a resin kit. Okay, let's get some glue on this thing. Two engine block halves go together. Wow, super long guide pins. It's nice, but those guide pins are only good if your if your two halves go together perfectly. And they don't always do that. You can see where I didn't get everywhere with the with my primer, but that's okay. Even a little dusting of primer is fine. And you see the guide pins make it so that the rear shaft of the transmission don't quite line up perfectly. And so, because of that, I'm going to get rid of this guide pin right here. Like that. That will allow me, it's still going to be held in at the front by the two pins, but it gives me a little bit of flexibility on the back here to get that lined up a little bit better. Just that, you know, half a millimeter makes a big difference. Just hold them together for a sec there. Alright. Their two halves got glue on them now. And I can let go of that, and that's holding nice. Perfect. Just add a little bit more just to make sure. Good. There we go. Okay. Cylinder heads. We're going to make sure we put them in the right direction. See, my temptation is to put this side up, but that's actually got to go down. And we've got to have our detail here that you can't really see now. If I get it in the right light, you might be able to see. That needs to face down. So yeah, another way you could do is this angled part. The angled part goes up. So that goes on like this. once I get these parts on, I'm going to be painting the whole thing aluminum. And you'll be able to see the detail on it again. Unfortunately, what else is going to happen is the visual popping of how it looks is not going to be as nice. Right, now our oil pan goes on like this on the front, with our sump facing the front. You know, realistically, drag racing cars, they want to have the sump at the rear, right? Because of the G-forces of the car taking off from a dead stop throws all the oil to the back of the engine. And so they want to have the oil, they want to have the pump sump at the back to be able to still pump oil through the engine. But in normal, everyday manufactured cars, you don't necessarily get that luxury of having the sump at the back because of where the engine sits and where your front suspension is. Okay, our water pump is on. And next we have our valve covers. The valve cover is going to go on top here like that. And we've got a gap because they don't sit quite flush. Yeah, not bad. There's one. That one fits a little nicer. There we go. Okay. Oil pan. It's like this. There are some things I find a little bit funny about the color callouts on the instruction book reading this. The engine is supposed to be like gloss, just black. The transmission, they want you to paint gunmetal. The oil pan, they want gloss black. Of all things. Okay, so that's the bulk of it put together there. We've got another part here. This is number 47. Looks like maybe a starter. Trying to determine if that's supposed to be cut flush or not, or if I'm supposed to leave that off. How does this sit on here? It's supposed to sit like this. That's got to be cut flush. Like that. Because there is no recess. There's no recess in our there's a little recess right here for it to go in. It's a little bit confusing which direction it's supposed to go. Because I'm not a Dodge guy, I don't know how the Dodge starters are supposed to sit on in their engine. I think it's supposed to sit like this. So that's how I'm going to glue it. Right or wrong, that's the way it's going to be. Alright, starter's in, so we'll be able to start our engine. Okay, put that aside. Let's deal with our chrome blower parts. Now here's a fun part with chrome pieces. If you're not used to dealing with chrome stuff, you're going to learn real fast that glue does not work on chrome unless you're using CA glue. Because normal hobby glue requires melting of the plastic just a little bit in order to create that bond and get the two pieces to stick together. And chrome does not allow for that. Chrome actually acts as a barrier. Now, a couple of other pieces here. I need 32, and 37, which are not on this sprue. These ones are in the 80s and 90s. These are all in the 20s. Oh, 38. 32 right here. I need this. Right? Yeah. And 37. This guy here. Our little distributor cap. Bingo. 32, I don't know what 32 is. Oh, 32 is a is the coil. 32 is an ignition coil. That's cool. Okay, so here's a good example. So we have our intake manifold right here, and we have to glue the body of our supercharger onto it, and it's going to go like this. I'm not sure if there's a front and a rear. I'm going to say there is. This little block that this sits on has got a little bit of a space here, but not here. So, going by the picture, doesn't look like there's any space here at the front of it, but there is a little space here, right in that little gap. And so that's how I'm going to do it. So, this has to go on like this. Okay. So I need to scrape away the chrome off of this surface, and I'll do that with my knife, like that. All the places where I'm going to make contact, I'm going to scrape the chrome off. Including a little tab that's going to go underneath there. I want to try and get chrome off of that. Okay. So we've got the chrome off of this piece, where I believe it's going to make contact with the other half. Okay. See, it's kind of turned white there because it's molded in white. If this was molded in black, it'd be a lot easier to tell. So now, obviously, I want to do the same on this. We're going to get in here where that tab is going to go in there. I might as well do both sides since I've got this in my hand. Get rid of that chrome in that. Okay. And I don't want to just completely go across here like that and scrape away because some of it is still going to be exposed. So I just want to get the inner edge. Just going with the tip of my knife to kind of scrape away like this. And then this edge too. This feels like the mold is not perfectly flat. So in scraping the mold in order to make it flat, well, that gets rid of the chrome too. Added bonus. Okay, do the same on this one. This side. Now you'll get an idea of exactly how much it's going to be covered and how much it isn't when you do a test fit. Okay, so there, I've scraped most of that away around there. Now let's see how much. It does cover right to the edge and right to this edge, so I can get away with getting rid of all the chrome on the edge, but not quite to the top, right? Not quite to the top. But I could go a little further here, and a little further here. Okay, so I can put now, the other thing is when it contacts down on this, doink, it's got to go on there, right? We've got to scrape away off of this surface and off of here. Otherwise the glue won't hold, and that's the big problem, right? You need the glue to hold. Now this, I can get away with just doing this. Just get both sides at once. Get that scraped away. Just like that. Okay? And both edges here. Just like that. Okay, so on the front, this guy, hold him on there. Like I said, the chrome really acts as a barrier. So there we go, we've got our front of the blower on. Now we've got to scrape away this one. This is going to go on the back here. This. Similar fashion to the front, it covers like 90% of it. So we don't need to scrape all of the chrome off the back because it doesn't, a lot of it doesn't actually come into contact, so. You still remember as a kid, I had no idea how they did the chrome on chrome parts, and I always wondered, how is it that these model manufacturers can make chrome parts that look like real chrome, and yet none of the spray paint or none of the paints that I buy look like real chrome. Even though it's called, you go to the store and they call it chrome, stuff. I want real chrome. So one thing I will want to touch up is I want to touch up this little spot. This is where it was attached on the sprue, and that's white, right? Now we can put this onto our intake manifold, bing, like this. But if I do this first, it's going to be a bit of a challenge to get our little coil mounted on here, because they've got a little notch for the coil to go in. Right there in the middle. It's a challenge just because of the size. Kind of drops in right there, like this. And then of course the distributor cap is supposed to go here on an angle. I don't like that. I do not like that. So I am going to drill out the hole for the distributor cap right there. Not quite big enough. So not quite big enough. Let's see if that's better. I want the distributor cap to actually fit into its little home. Still not big enough, which means I gotta get my bigger drill bits. So that's my other pin vise. So that's this guy. No, this guy. I've got 3 pin vices. This is my El Cheapo garbage one, but it's got most of my bits in it. I think this one would be a good... No, that's too small too. That's a big size chunk on there. It's a little too big. That's about perfect. Okay. Okay. Let's get this drilled through. There we go. Now that ought to fit in there. Yeah. Now it fits in its spot. Like it's supposed to. Yay. Okay. So with that done, put my bits away, so I don't want to lose them. Okay, so there's that. Now, kind of tempted. I would like to do spark plug wires on this guy, but doing them on this cap, I want to show you guys some of the things I've got here in my stash of extra stuff. I have spare distributor caps with ignition wire, these different colors. Right? So these distributor caps are just a little bit higher detail because they're resin. I don't think I need to bother with that because this distributor cap actually is pretty good detail. So it'll just be a matter of adding the wires to it. And that's it. And then of course, well, which wire do I want to use? What color wire? What color wire do I want to use on this guy? Do I want red or blue? I think I'm going to go with blue. I want blue wire. I'm going to do blue wire. But I think what I'm going to do is wait until next time to do this. Now I want to get the wires on this before I put the blower because it's a little bit restrictive. Once I have this on top, then I have to start worrying about how I'm going to get the wires underneath there and glue them on, right? So that's a bit of a pain in the neck to do that, so this is going to wait. Okay. The other thing I'd like to try and do is our actual, let's put him here. I want to try and get, well, they put a hole for the, you got a hole in here for you to put the coil in. But the hole for the distributor basically was non-existent. So the coil has to go in here. Like this. So with that being held there, I'll glue the coil down. Go like that. There we go. Coil's in place. And we'll leave that like that. Distributor cap goes into that hole there. Just like so. It's going to sit like that. I think I'll glue the distributor cap in now. There we go. Okay. Distributor cap and our coil are mounted. Blower's going to go on top like that. And it's going to be a bit of a challenge with the wires that have to come on these. The wires that have to go just on the top here of their distributor cap, but under the blower, that's going to be a bit of a challenge. I might actually trim this. I think I'm going to do that now. So just trim this a little bit here to give us a little more room. In dealing with that. It's not really anything they're going to notice. Like, oh no, your blower's been cut. No, you're not going to notice that. But it's going to gives me that little bit of a millimeter to get in there with a wire. I'm going to put the wires on the distributor cap first, and then I'll put the blower down, and that will kind of squish them. And if they squish, then that's fine. But trying to run them through underneath the blower, that's going to be almost impossible. And then we're going to have our blower intake on top here. There isn't a lot of contact point in there other than our 2 pegs that go in. And I'm going to scrape the chrome off of this, off of our pegs. Otherwise, it will never be glued down solid. There we go. That. Okay, there isn't a lot of contact points on here. That piece might sit on there, but that's it. The inside of these holes kind of is maybe chrome in there, I don't know. Kind of drill them out a little bit and scrape away here on the top. I'm not sure exactly how much contact we have with the plastic on the top. There we go. Anyway, that is about it. That's going to go on there. Okay. We've got a little white mark here where it was in contact with on the sprue, so that's white. It's got a parting seam right through here. I don't like that. You don't see that on the real ones. Unfortunately, if I scrape that away, I'd be scraping away the chrome. I don't want to scrape away the chrome. And although I do have Molotow chrome, and it does a fantastic job at looking like real chrome, it is kind of a pain. Anyway, this is kind of where I'm going to leave it for today, guys. I need to paint this all aluminum. I'll do that off camera. Yeah, I think that's where I'm going to call it for now. And just say, yep, here's episode 1 done, right? Oh, my hair. Yeah, so next step, I need to paint this guy aluminum. I'll do that off camera. I'll also get the wires glued up. I'm going to cut some length, basically kind of measure, do a rough measurement from here to the very furthest one away, and then I'll do them all the same length. That gives me a good measurement to cut them all, and get my CA glue and glue them all on the distributor cap, and then I'll have the lower assembly ready to be installed on top of there. But that's where I gotta leave it for today, guys, and I gotta get going. So I want to thank you for watching. Thanks for coming out. Check out the description box down below. You're going to see some links to my Twitch, and you can follow me on Twitch. You can check out my Instagram, where I upload all kinds of pictures of all the previous builds I've done of tanks and planes and other cars and stuff like that. So I want to thank you guys for watching. Thanks for coming out. Hit that like button down below and subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks again, guys, and we'll see you all in the next one.